Hello and welcome to today's K-12 Techie Talks. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the first main things when I got into K-12 education. My first 3 weeks was just resetting Google passwords. Constantly, teachers were putting requests in for this student, that student, emailing them back. It was especially problematic in a, master schedule type of situation where the teacher wouldn't be able to tell the kid till the next day or whatever because they only had them for one period. So I found a tool called GAM, and I'll show you where you can find that tool, and it has all the descriptions on how to install that tool. And I was able to automate it so that way teachers could put in requests, and it would send them back an email within 5 minutes with the new student's password, and I wasn't involved at all. So today's just the first kind of how to use the tool, and then in later videos I'll show you how I took that tool and turned it into a full automation. So first off, let's start off with a little bit of where you can find that content. And that content's located on GitHub. It's a free tool. You can go on here and it has all the directions on how to download it and the whole 9 yards. So definitely recommend coming to the GitHub and getting it from them. And then they also have directions on how to use the different commands, and we'll get more into that as time comes on. So one of my favorite tools to use is PowerShell. So once I had this installed, I try to figure out how I can use PowerShell to automate the task. So today is just using the basic, pieces of the PowerShell, and we're going to walk through this little PowerShell script that I have here. So the first thing you do is you need to set a variable with password, some kind of password. I had an automated script that was generating random passwords, but for today's purpose, we're just going to be storing a simple string called password. Email is going to be the variable for the student's email address. So it's basically user at domain, it could be whatever your .com, blah, 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 blah is. And then I have an empty array that I initialize for my error list. And this is really for that way, as we end up looping through this or doing different things, it allows you to pull back those errors to see if there was any kind of problems. You can do this or not do this, depends on how important it is for you to capture those errors. The next one is we actually use the GAM command. So this is the GAM command. All the GAM commands starts with GAM. It's Google, I think it's Google Application Management. And it has different settings. So the one is we're going to update, and we're going to update a user. We're going to use the email that we had, and we're going to set the new password with the password that we had. And then that's going to store back into this message variable. And this message variable, if it executes correctly and finds everything, it should return you something like updating user at domain blah 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 blah. It should actually have these 3 dots. If an error happens, you can catch that error. The try catch doesn't really catch this, so you kind of have to just look for the error variable to be set. And then I have, so if there's an error in the error variable, this is the actual error variable the system sets, not so it's a reserved variable kind of. I grab off just the top screen, string of that, and I attach in the email name. So this would, if it had an error, it would produce something like this: error 404, resource not found, user key, and then I would say the specific user that's not found. And then I would clear the variable if I'm doing a big looping, so that way the next time I don't accidentally catch the same error for the same user. When you run this command, it kicks back and just literally updates the student's password immediately. Then you can obviously, tell the teacher or whoever that, hey, the new password for this particular person is this. One of the things that I found if we gave teachers access to the Google admin panel just to reset passwords, with our naming convention, they were setting the wrong password. They weren't paying attention to if it was Johnny Smith 1 or Johnny Smith 2 or just the Johnny Smith. They found the first Johnny Smith and boom, reset that password. And it turned out they were resetting some senior's password when they were a 5th grader. So it caused lots of chaos because they weren't checking fully on which email address that student had. This way, with the automation, you'll see later on, I take all the guesswork out for the teacher. They put in the student's ID number, and literally it emails them back with the password that's randomly generated within 5 minutes, and also sends them back the actual full email address of the student, so that way when they're trying to log into that Chromebook, especially for those first, second, third graders, the first time they're not used to what it is, so that way they make sure that they're getting the right email address. So that's pretty simple little code. It's very, very helpful. You can use it as is and just hand put them in. You can actually put in some read host and read host here, or you can actually do some cool tricks with generating random passwords. We just did like the school initials and then a random number, 4-digit number, so that way it's always kind of the same pattern for the teacher. You can find all of my code, which I'll have a link in the description, but I have it at K12 Techie/YouTube code. And then I have this reset Google password one here. And as I make more content, I'll continue all my content. I'll always make sure I'm including the scripts in some kind of generic form so they're easier for you to use. Well, I hope you liked today's video, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.